live already?
Yeah, it's good to go.
Okay.
We can cut off whatever we need to.
Okay. This is Rick Tyler reporting again from out in front of Whitewater Grill in Ocoee, Tennessee, giving you an update from our last recording, our last report. It is about 1:45 p.m. Here in the afternoon, and the one-man protest that's going on out in front of the restaurant, Mr. James Waller, who we got a little bit of footage of earlier. He is still out there holding forth. There have been numerous cars that have pulled up and shown some solidarity with him. One raft guide from NOC Rafting Company, Nantahala Outdoor Rafting, one of their raft guides, formerly a regular customer at the restaurant here. I'm drawing a blank on his first name right off the top of my head, but he came by and brought looked like a bottle of Gatorade. I was just observing from up on the front porch of the restaurant when it happened. I believe he brought a bottle of Gatorade to James Waller, who again is the self-styled anointed prophet of God, who has already pronounced eternal judgment and condemnation on yours truly, and claims to have been the oracle of God for the prognostication of all manner of destruction and judgment at the hand of God on various and sundry venues and locations throughout the nation. He mentioned Alabama. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, he even mentioned the recent events in Orlando as something that he foretold of. But at any rate, he's out there. He's had numerous expressions of support and solidarity. Some well-intentioned good folk from the community have possibly out of curiosity and quite possibly just out of the desire to show solidarity. I'm sure there's some that's the automatic reflexive propensity to assuage their white guilt, which this of course is an opportune time to talk about that fascinating subject from a psychological standpoint. White people are heavy laden with white guilt. They've been bludgeoned and beaten down by the propaganda and by the media all of their lives, and especially in recent years as the pace has accelerated, and without even knowing it, they harbor what we call white guilt. They've been told so many times how their race is the great oppressor. Their race, the white race, oppressed the people of India through colonialism. That they oppressed the African peoples during the colonial era. That they oppressed the black people in pre-Civil War America through the institution of slavery in the South. That they oppressed the black people in the South through the Jim Crow laws. We have a lot of truck traffic going by. One of the hazards of live filming on the highway on a busy traffic day like this. And of course, there is always a certain measure of factuality in people's perspectives. The history of the world is a rough and tumble history. Either battles between distinct cultures and races of people. For instance, World War II. Even though Germany was allied with Japan, still it was European Americans who had come to this country from Europe fighting against the Japanese, and the Japanese were very united from a racial standpoint and believed in their destiny as a race of people. They believed in their emperor very definitively. So again, history is replete with illustrations of the rough and tumble conflict and contest between individuals as well as groups of people, tribes of people. Africa is an amazing continuing saga of tribal warfare and brutal tribal oppression, one tribe over the other. Even South Africa, the Zulu tribe there pitted against the tribe that Nelson Mandela was from. Even though the Zulus far outnumbered that opposing tribe, the opposing tribe had the support of the international Marxist movement. Google Joe Slovo, S-L-O-V-O. He was Nelson Mandela's handler, and he was the head of the ANC. Not a black man, a Jewish man, in fact. So again, Africa to this day continues to be bloodstained with conflict between competing black tribes. Of course, we know that part of the despicable and sad story of slavery itself, of the African brand of slavery as was imported into this country in its early days, that was a story that implicated many people, the black tribes that conquered other black tribes and then brokered and sold them into slavery. Mel Gibson's movie Apocalypto is a brilliant production that shows leading up to the time when the Europeans traversed the oceans and showed up on the shores of that region of the world, how the tribes of people there in the age of the Mayans, that they were vanquishing and conquering each other and selling each other into the type of slavery that led them up to the top of the mountain to become a human sacrifice. So again, this is a gruesome story. The amazing part of the slavery story is that it was in this white country that the growing awareness was developing to an accentuated point, to where well before the commencement of hostilities and what became known as the Civil War, we prefer to call it the war between the states, but leading up to that and well prior to it, there was already a very strong movement towards the eradication of slavery in the South. Now, the slaves that came into America, they came via the ports in the North. Rhode Island, for instance, the great mansions of Rhode Island were built largely with the money generated from the slave trade. And so the North, their hands were stained very, very much with blood. And of course, Abraham Lincoln, the so-called great emancipator, had every intention in the world of repatriating the freed black slaves to Africa, as did the founding fathers of this republic. The country Liberia was founded to be a nation that would actually be exclusively for blacks. Nobody else would be allowed to be a citizen of Liberia. Its constitution was patterned specifically after our Constitution, and James Monroe, father of the Constitution, the capital of Liberia is actually named after him, Monrovia. So, one of my appreciations to what James Waller is doing here today is that he is giving me an opportunity, and through the amazing technology, by the way, brought to you courtesy of my race. There's nothing hateful about that statement. It's just healthy familial pride in my extended racial family. But through the technology that we have at our fingertips today, we're able to, because of his presence out here, we're able to talk about these subjects that unfortunately aren't being taught to people in the government schools today in our nation. They should be, but they're not. Another great thing I love about James being here today, James Waller, is that he is creating the perfect bookend, if you will, to my press conference yesterday, where I was railing against the cutthroat assault on the First Amendment. James is out here today exercising his First Amendment right of free speech, which I will vigorously defend if anybody were to try to create an impediment for him. Now, because he's black, he probably will not experience any difficulty. Even in the quote-unquote most racist county in America, you know, Polk County has this reputation dating back into the past of being a even of racism, if you will. And so here James Waller is. He's out conspicuously situated in Polk County, Tennessee, and he is taking a stand for what he sincerely believes in. There can be no question as to this man's sincerity. He does believe himself to be the anointed prophet of God, who God whispers in his ear and speaks to him in audible voices. He told us earlier on camera that God appeared to him previously as a dark silhouette ringed in light with angels dancing around. So some